Hello everybody in Lancerland, Mike Dolphin here, Guidance Director at the high school with another edition of Guidance News. And today's focus is going to be on the college process, articulation agreements, explaining all aspects of it. And I'm actually going to be the guest. And Mr. Mitchell, Guidance Counselor in House 2 at the high school, with last names from FF to H, and our testing coordinator, Mr. SAT, Mr. PSAT, we call him, is going to serve as the guest host, kind of like the old days of Johnny Carson, for those of you who remember. So Johnny, take it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dolphin. Bill Mitchell from House 2. I guess there's a lot of concern about the articulation process, so I want to ask Mr. Dolphin a number of questions to try to help out parents through the process and students as well, and to try to get things a little clearer about how the articulation process works and the benefits and so forth, and what is an articulation agreement. So why don't we start off there first, Mr. Dolphin? Can you tell the community a little bit about what an articulation agreement is?
Sure. Basically, an articulation agreement means that Londonderry High School has a partnership with area colleges. So that means that certain things occur for the kids, for the seniors, that they can take a comprehensive look at the school. So involved in that are components. The first thing we have is we have a huge college fair at the high school in September, which is the second week of our senior parent class. And all of the colleges that are involved come and basically exhibit all of their materials, and we invite all the seniors and their parents to come in. The second is the schools, all of the schools have an option to come and do a visit at Londonderry High School. And what we found is many of the schools aren't doing that anymore just because of the fact that they can access a lot of the kids and the seniors and their parents through that fair. The third thing that happens in all the agreements is we take a campus tour of the students to the colleges, and we usually start those tours in mid-October through December, and sometimes in the new year, just because of we want the kids to see the weather, campus when it looks in wintry or late fall and so forth. And then there's an actual deadline date, that all of the materials are due to main guidance. And then we do a spreadsheet, which basically we do an Excel spreadsheet. We send all the names, their GPA, their rank in class, their SATs, their intended major, and then we mail everything to the institutions. And what that does, it gives the institutions a chance to take a look at the kids early. It gives them a chance to give them an acceptance notice, hopefully acceptance early, and it's non-binding, meaning they have until May 1st of the senior's year to deposit. Also, in many cases, it's a great opportunity for these kids to get special scholarships. So they get special scholarships just because of their grade point average, and some schools start as low as 2.0. So we have quite a few agreements at this point.
So these monies that a student may qualify for within the articulation would be outside of the regular financial aid package?
Yes, they are eligible for the seniors just because they are Londonderry seniors. So for example, one of the four-year schools is Franklin Pierce University in Rindge, New Hampshire. And after 7 semesters, if a student has a 2.5 to a 2.99 cumulative weighted GPA, they'll get between $4,000 and $9,000 a year. And that's renewable, so they'll get that for all 4 years if they stay in good standing. And usually that means maintaining that 2.5 minimum for that grade, for that statistical point of view. And then there's a 3.0 to 3.4. Those kids at Franklin Pierce will get between $9,000 and $12,000 a year. And then the 3.5 or higher is $12,000 a year. And again, like you said,
so
Mr.
for
Mitchell,
every school, the
Yeah.
criteria is different for the scholarship component. But
Yeah.
it's not all about the money either. It's also, there are other added benefits possibly for the articulation besides the top students, I guess?
Yeah, the added benefits, certainly beyond the money. I've, just like yourself, both been in guidance a while. I'm a strong believer that the schools in the region are some of the finest institutions around. The problem with many people in the state of New Hampshire, if they're looking at UNH, for example, they make the assumption, whether it's Londonderry or other schools, that all the kids from Londonderry High School go to Durham. And so they tend to sometimes bypass one of the finest institutions in the country at UNH. So 35 students from a class of 2007 that went there out of 13,000 kids. That is certainly not Londonderry East. So if we take a comprehensive look and they go on the bus trips, they get to see the campus while it's in session, get to see the diversity of the population. And maybe they wouldn't have done that. Or if they went in the summer, you know certainly like myself that it's not the same. When the weather's pattern's different, the campus is not as full or active.
How do the students sign up for the bus trip if one wants to partake in
Yep.
one of these programs?
First thing we do is we have a senior guidance curriculum. We go into the classes once a month through January. And in the first class, they get a big folder and a pack of information on all aspects of the college process. And then they end up getting the bus permission forms and the dates. So for example, Mrs. Esterly, the school's career office, put together articulations at a glance. So what she does is she has there's a group of four-year colleges. She puts the articulation application deadline, the admissions visit if the schools do it, campus tour. Some schools also do an interview date, applications, what they need to include, scholarship eligibility, and award criteria. So we have 1, 2, 3, let's say we have Colby Sawyer College, Daniel Webster College, Franklin Pierce University. It was Franklin Pierce College, now it's a university as of September. Keene State College, New England College, Plymouth State University, Riviere College, Southern New Hampshire University, and Suffolk University and UNH Durham for four-year schools, plus some two-year schools, New Hampshire Technical Institute in Concord, New Hampshire Community Tech in Manchester, Northern Essex Community College in Haverhill and Lawrence, and Southern New Hampshire's two-year programs at the Southern New Hampshire campus in culinary arts, and also negotiating with New Hampshire Tech in Stratham, Pease, which will be moved to Pease and most likely will become Great Bay Community College, a new name, and talked to people from Hesser just recently, and they're interested in doing something with us.
Wasn't there the art school in Manchester?
That's right, thank you. But New Hampshire Institute of Art in Manchester, which offers BFA, Bachelor's in Fine Arts, will be on board next year as well. So,
I mean, the nice thing about the Artics too is that it's not just for the best and the brightest. We have a little bit of everything here for all different types of interests and different types, calibers of students, and a real nice cross-section of all kinds of different schools here. So there's something here for almost everybody.
well, I think that's important to make note that 86% of our kids from the class of '07 went on to college, 65% to four-year, and that number's jumped 5% in 2 years, and then 21% to two-year, and that number's jumped 10% in 2 years. And what I like what you said, if you take New England College, for example, you know, there's an example of what you said, Mr. Mitchell, because a student with between a 2.0 and a 2.5 GPA will get up to $3,000 to $5,000 if accepted to go there. And, you know, there's many, many great schools, like I said, in the area. And the reason for the two-year school, getting the two-year schools, is the cost of education, as we both know, is just getting up to the point where, you know, some of these schools for the class of 2008 will be $50,000 when they enter. Boston colleges and BUs and those types of schools will be, these kids will be paying, you know, a great deal of money.
It seems like the last couple of years, more and more students are looking at the two-year schools for various reasons, and using that as a launching pad for finances, for improving their grades, and then transitioning to wherever they want to go afterwards, and get the degree from, you know, a bachelor's degree program from wherever.
Well, that's why I approached Northern Essex, because Northern Essex has a joint admissions program. They have a beautiful campus in Haverhill. It looks and feels like a four-year campus. They have athletics. But after 2 years, as you know, whatever major these kids get involved with, even if it's liberal arts or general studies, they have a joint admissions process. 2.5 GPA after 2 years at Northern Essex, they can automatically get accepted into any Massachusetts public now, institution that matches up with that major. If they get a 3.0, they not only get accepted, but they get 33% off their tuition. And that doesn't mean that those kids couldn't transfer, back to New Hampshire
Sure.
or to the West Coast.
Just gives kids and families another option. How far is that compared to, say, Manchester, Nashua? I mean,
Haverhill's 34 minutes. So
Yeah,
it's really the
that's not
same
bad.
distance to Haverhill as it would be for a Londonderry student who lives in town to go to Nashua Community Tech in Nashua, which is obviously on 101A,
Oh.
going through Hudson or going on the highway, about a half an hour ride either way.
Why don't we spend some time talking about the actual application process for an articulation school? A student or parent who might, want to apply to, say, let's say UNH, for instance, though that deadline has already gone by. Let's talk about, because the process is very similar from one artic to another. Why don't we talk about UNH a little bit to clarify
Yep.
for the community how it works?
Well, we're very fortunate to have an agreement with UNH Durham. And as I forgot to mention that we're actually working on one with UNH Manchester. I guess that's the other myth or misnomer that's been out there for years, as we both know, is if a student goes to UNH Manchester, many students throughout the state and throughout the region have made the assumption that UNH Manchester is a different school. Well, it is a different campus, but it's not a different school. As you know, kids who take classes there, if they get a degree from UNH Manchester, they get a 4-year degree or whatever they get. It says University of New Hampshire on it. So in UNH Durham's case, they just suggested that our deadline be November 15th, which is their early action deadline, which is non-binding. And the reason they did that, we had 145 kids apply by that date, is they wanted all of our students to be eligible for all of the scholarships offered through their office. And Governor Lynch has just come up with a new set of what he calls challenge scholarships. I'm not too familiar on those yet, but I know that the admissions office encouraged them. Now, maybe we need to talk about the Common Application, because UNH in many schools is a Common App school. What a Common App is, the students basically fill out one application, they give the teacher evaluations to their teachers, and you and I fill out the secondary school report forms for our students and send everything. Well, this year we decided, we decided on the deadline that they would want to have all of the Common App paperwork downloaded and sent in. We realized after we did that that caused a problem. So most likely we're going to be really recommending to the class of '09 to go with online applications for everything. Now once the kids apply on that deadline, which was November 15th, they have to fill out one of these blue articulation forms, which is different than the other form we'll talk about in a few minutes. The blue form has all of the colleges listed. The student fills in their name, their date of graduation, the name of the university. They have an opportunity, they write down their application deadline. So in the case of UNH, it was November 15th. Their intended major, and since UNH is a Common App, it says using Common App, they would check yes, okay? And the teachers from whom they would want their recommendations sent. Now UNH really only wanted a guidance council recommendation, if you remember. So we convinced them to send one teacher, one guidance. All of these forms are turned in, and then we go ahead and we get all of the files in order. We have to include the Q1 report card, the transcript, the guidance recommendation, teacher recommendations, the school profile, which explains our grading system. It's a little brochure that explains our grading system, and then the student's essay. And
So everything has to go to main guidance.
Everything goes to main
And then
guidance.
it gets sent collectively with
Yeah.
all the other
Right.
students for articulation for UNH, and so it's all bundled together.
Correct.
So, and that's kind of the process for the other
Right.
schools as well, outside of
Yeah.
is everything needs to start at main guidance with a blue sheet and all of the supporting, the application.
Yep.
What about application fee? You want to talk about that, how
Well,
that differs?
Yeah, many of the public institutions, some of the schools, UNH and Keene and Plymouth, will charge the full application fee. Daniel Webster, Southern New Hampshire University,
The private schools.
private schools,
Yeah.
Suffolk, the privates will waive the fee. The Northern Essex fee has been reduced from $25 to $10 for our students. And the state system schools like the Tech Institute in Concord and the Tech College in Manchester, only $10 application fee.
So Manchester's still requiring the $10.
Manchester still
Even under
requires
our
$10. So what we found is if the students apply online, then they can just fill out the blue sheets, and next year we'll probably go to that, and it's a lot easier for tracking. So, and we'll set the deadlines earlier, I think, next year.
So even for the other
kids.
schools for next year, but for right now,
Yeah, for right now.
we have to continue with,
Yeah.
everything needs to go to main guidance for the remainder of this
Right.
school
Well,
year.
it'll still be the same way. They'll still fill out the blue sheet, they'll still bring it up, and we'll still take all the printed materials and bundle them. And
Okay.
the other thing that I do is, as soon as that comes in, one of my staff upstairs or myself creates a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet I talked about earlier. So that day, the 15th, by the next morning, the UNH rep that reads all our apps had all of our 145 students, seniors who applied, alpha, with their GPA, with their intended major, with their SAT critical reasoning, writing, math, and rank in class. And all of that went in a spreadsheet, so then they knew what was to be expected. And then we bundled everything up alphabetically and sent that on the 19th. So it's the same for every process. Other schools like Colby Sawyer and New England College deadlines that have passed in Keene. I think we had 75 applications for Keene. We did the same thing. The spreadsheet's created, so there's a record. Because what we want to do at the end of this is we want to make sure that when these kids get accepted or not, if they get denied, we'll use that for our kids next year and our parents. You know, we'll take out the names, print the spreadsheet, and let them see what kind of kids are getting accepted depending on the major, so they can develop a pattern. Because as you know,
Sure.
look what happened last year with our class of '07 with UNH. UNH went from, 75% acceptances to 59% acceptances in 1 year, and they had over 15,000 applications. So the advantage for our kids at UNH, back to the original question, is they get to be read as early as any other applicant. So instead of going to the February 1st deadline, they can be read early. And if the kids do not get accepted on the 11/15 deadline, they'll be rolled back automatically to February 1. So there's still hope. But if they get referred to the Manchester campus, Mr. Mitchell, they might think of that as a denial, but it's not. Because a student can go to UNH Manchester for 1 semester or for a year, and if they have a certain GPA in the major, they just have to fill out a change of campus form. And everything's transferable, C or better. But a lot of people don't want to do that, and you know why. There's no dorm.
Right.
But if I'm going to go to UNH Durham, and this is my first choice school, and I don't get in for whatever reason, I want to go to UNH Manchester because that's the best way to transfer. I don't want to go to Oswego State in New York State and then try to transfer. And a lot of
It
times
seems
people
like
do
more
that.
and more kids are willing to.
Yes.
It's slowly happening where more and more kids and families are willing to go to UNH Manchester, go to the community college system, and use that as a stepping stone in going to Plymouth, Keene,
Absolutely.
wherever.
Yeah. They just don't realize that if a student goes to New Hampshire Community Tech College system and takes English 101, as we used to call it in our day, that's the same course
Sure.
at a university. It's transferable, C or better.
Right.
So it's not any different. And a matter of fact, because of so many kids taking liberal arts today, courses at the colleges, all of the community college systems are changing their names. The word technical is being taken out. As I said, Great Bay Community College.
Next school year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, maybe it's going to be Manchester Community College or Nashua, but 66% of the kids who go to those schools are now in liberal arts. They're using this as a stepping stone to save money, to get a good education, and to get transferred into it's not where you start, it's where you finish. The worst thing, as you know, is getting a call or an email from a graduate of our high school that says in October of their freshman year in college that they want to transfer. They've already had enough of the place, even if they've done. And I know of 2 students this year that were thorough in their research, and by end of September had already contacted my office to transfer back to New Hampshire. And that's the saddest thing, because now they have to start all over again.
Now, what about with, let's go back to UNH again with SATs, because that's a change there as well. You want to share that
Sure.
with the community a little bit?
Well, as you know from administering the SATs, when the students take the SATs, they have to, obviously fill out a questionnaire and register and all of that and come to the center that day, and they can designate 4 colleges that they want their scores sent to. We also put the SAT scores on our Londonderry transcript. However, UNH and many other schools will not accept our transcript as an official SAT score.
There's still not that many in the whole picture of things.
No, there
though.
isn't, thank the good
but
Lord.
UNH is,
Yeah.
they've been some massive change there between the Common App and the SATs that it's quite, it's a very big impact
Very
on this
big,
community.
yeah. UNH had the same application for years, as you know, and they made that change to go to the Common App. And the problem with the difficulty for the student, if the student takes the SATs in the spring of junior year in May or June, as we recommend, not in March and not in January, right? May or June is preferable. But
Right.
if they take it, they may not even know where they're applying. Now, if they automatically put
Right.
down UNH on that test report,
They get
UNH
4. They get
f-
4 as part of the fee, the
Right.
$41.50, or at least that's what it is this
Right.
year. Right.
And then that gets sent. But then in the fall, if they take it a second time in October, then they put it down. But if they don't, they have to contact the College Board directly in Princeton.
for a cost.
And for a cost, whatever it is now, to have the score sent
Yeah.
directly. In other words, when a student receives a card in the mail that they have their application, but official SAT scores are missing, that means they will not accept the scores on the Londonderry transcript, even though the Londonderry transcript has been sealed and sent from our office directly in an envelope. They won't accept it. So other schools are like that, like the Ivies and some of the selectives. But so that's a little troublesome this year. It's been for some of our seniors, but I think obviously
It'll smooth out in time.
it'll smooth out in time, knowing that UNH they're doing it because, frankly, they received what I told you earlier, 15,100 applications last year for the class of entering class of 07, graduating class of 11, and they just need help in processing it. So they
don't have the staff.
They don't have the staff to do it, so they did that. But that was a late decision. That decision did not come until, I think, at the end of the school year or in the summer when the kids were home for vacation. So that was a little bit of, because there was no advance notice, nor usually they're pretty good about consulting with the guidance community, but they didn't even ask us about that.
Right.
So that caught us all off guard.
What about the notarization component? That's another small piece
Yep.
of some of the in-state
Okay.
applications. You want to talk about that a little
Basically, Keene State, Plymouth State, UNH, not the Tech Institute schools or Manchester, asked for a notary public seal. And what this is a proof of residency. Now, we do have 3 people at Londonderry High School, in the main office in House 4 and in main guidance that are notary publics. The problem is if the student's under 18, they need that signed. They sign the application page, but they also they have to have their parent with them present. They can't just sign it and bring it home to their parent. But while this was going on, let's go back to UNH again. And UNH made another change in September. They said, we won't deal with the notary page until the student has deposited.
Right.
So if any member of the class of 07 decides to go to Durham and did not fill out their residency notary page, they will do that after May 1st now. So I think
Right.
that changed. But for the other schools, Keene
Plymouth and Keene, they still have to
they
do
want
it with
that seal.
as part of the application.
That's right. They
itself.
want that seal, and they want that notary public signature of the person, and they have to have the parent present. Now, if
That's
this-
been going on since
forever.
since they've been
it's one-
colleges.
Very rare to see that. I don't think other states do that,
No.
from our knowledge.
What about students that haven't been as successful in high school as maybe they could have or should have been? Is an articulation school going to be something that they should look into?
Well, I think that if a student struggled in school and their GPA's below a 2.0, first of all, they definitely can go to college. And if they just can get the dorm idea out of their head, the community college system is awesome because not just of the cost, but because it's open enrollment except for nursing. If the student graduates from a high school, okay, they can enter. The beauty of it, too, is all of the 2-year schools in the state and in Northern Essex give what's called an AccuPlacer test. The AccuPlacer test is given at Londonderry High School every year now as part of these agreements. And all it is, it's not an admissions test for everybody out there. It's not a test to determine what,
Whether you're accepted or
right,
not.
it's a placement test to put you in the right level of English and the right level of math. And on most of the 2-year applications, the student doesn't have to take SATs, okay, or doesn't have to fret about SATs. I think we would both recommend to our juniors out there that
If they're looking at higher ed.
that they should definitely take SATs anyways. And if the 2-year schools happen to not notice them, okay, that's fine. But the other thing is, if they go to the 2-year school, they need to understand that getting to the 2-year school, getting their associate's degree is really important, because if they try to transfer after 1 year, which is fine, the colleges are still going to want their high school transcript and look at that. So if a student did poorly in high school, they should just finish the 2 years, and you know that you'll work with them when they come back. I'll work with them. Other staff members will work with them to help them out, as well as the people at their college. So it's a
lot of the colleges have transfer counselors now.
Absolutely.
At Manchester, at UNH,
Yep.
at SNU, because so many students are using this approach now that they have to deal with the numbers, because
Right.
so many students are going this route, going to the local community colleges first and then looking to transfer. There's more and more kids transferring from one to another
right.
for various reasons.
Some kids can even spend 3 years at a technical community college and transfer for their 4th year to like Southern Hampshire University, save themselves money. And obviously, New Hampshire was one of the last states to have full articulation agreements, so it took a while for all the schools to get all this transfer credit worked out because of accreditation issues and so forth. So it's very important when a student says to you or me, I want to go to school X, but I'm going to start here. Well, they need to talk to school X before they deposit at the other school, because they need to identify what you just said. Who is that transfer counselor? I talked to a senior this week who said, I'm going to go here and then I want to transfer. And I said, well, when you decide to deposit at this first school, before you graduate, we need to start talking with the transfer counselor at that school to let him or her know what your intentions are right away. And as you said, it's not going to be somebody that we may already know. It may be somebody that's embedded in the office a lot, doesn't do a lot of traveling, and just deals with, preparatory schools and things of that nature that they have postgraduate years.
Just take a step back a little bit. Last year, do you remember off the top of your head the amount of money that was dispersed under Articulation?
Well, there was an offer. The offer that was made was $662,000. Now, that doesn't, obviously they didn't all take it, but I believe the final count was 122 that was accepted for the students that went to these schools. So whatever that is times 4. So that's all renewable. So it's still, close to $500,000 or around $500,000.
Well, even if it wasn't renewable, that's quite a bit of money.
Yeah, so the offer was definitely, some of these kids got presidential scholarships and offers. At three students at Franklin Pierce were offered $14,000 a year.
And that doesn't include the federal programs and work study and
or other loans
loan
or
programs.
other local scholarships from Londonderry and all the benevolence of the community. That doesn't include them either.
Anything you want to say to close out today's show?
Well, I just want to make sure that when the juniors or even the seniors, it's never too late for the seniors out there, we really go by this gold sheet. This gold sheet, some of the kids have resumes, but I know when Mr. Mitchell does a recommendation or when I do or other counselors, we ask the students to fill out this gold sheet. What this gold sheet is a student information form. All their activities, all of their out-of-school activities, and even a chance to write something down about what they're doing. Employment, because when we're writing letters of recommendation for the kids, we want to make sure they're comprehensive and they cover everything, because the guidance recommendations are a little different. The other thing that should be mentioned too in closing is any student that applies to a non-articulation school will use the infamous green sheet. Same process as before. Student applies, let's take Bates College in Lewiston, Maine. Student sends in an online application to Bates, pays the fee, includes the essay as part of the application, then would come to Maine guidance. So even let's say that the deadline was December 30th. If they apply before December 30th, the deadline has been met. We still have 2 weeks to send this in. Remember, there's one person in Maine guidance processing 1,500 applications or more. At least there was 1,500 last year. I think there'll be more this year. So people need to understand that they have to come upstairs and fill out the sheet. And on the sheet, they indicate Again, are they using the common application? Which teacher letters are you recommending that you want sent, and which guidance counselor? And then they sign it. We have a place for date received and the date mailed. This goes back into the student folder. The student can then check. Because of all the changes that we've talked about, we're going to be changing the green sheet for next year. We know that 90+% now of the kids are probably going to do online. Because as you may know, some of the kids who apply online, if they encouraged to do so, they basically might get their fee waived, and it's quick. And the technology today with the high school kids, they use computers a lot better than I did. Because imagine, I learned how to type on a
nice and clean,
typewriter.
too.
I learned how to type on a typewriter. And now I can use 4 fingers. Can you imagine that?
He's a stone.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of forums. We have a lot of programs in place. There's a junior parent breakfast coming up on the 31st of January. It's in guidelines, the winter edition. We have a junior curriculum. We continue to have New Hampshire Higher Ed partner with us, which is free. I guess that's the other thing we should mention. All the services are free. New Hampshire Higher Ed in Concord is awesome. www.nhheaf.org or 1-800-525-2577. They'll help you fill out financial aid forms. They'll help you with college. You can go to Concord. You can call them on the phone. So it's
And if you have some extenuating circumstances in your family,
right.
A divorce situation or some extenuating circumstances at home with medical bills or whatever, they're a great resource to go over what's the best way to go about handling this situation so that the family can get the most financial support they qualify for. Now you have financial aid night coming up shortly, right? For seniors?
We actually have 2 this year because one December 5th. I'm not sure when this will air, but December 5th is New Hampshire Higher Ed will be coming to the high school to go over the process of financial aid, which is a little different. Just to explain the process of the federal, and obviously for those schools that require an additional form, the CSS profile, which requires an additional form for some private institutions. And then in January, we have a night where they're going to learn how to complete the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. What I need to remind all of the parents of is every time we do a senior parent newsletter, Mike Keneally in House 4 does it. We put it on the web. It's on the Londonderry School District website, as are all the other newsletters. You do the freshman newsletter, that goes on. We distribute it to all the students, but the students sometimes don't tell the parents that it's there. So parents need to go on, click on the high school, click on the guidance link, and right on the left-hand side, it'll say Senior Parent News. Okay, that goes to print. That goes on the web at the end of every month, just like yours go out every first of every month to the kids. Parents can look. They should get into the habit of checking that periodically.
Articulation.
Articulation's all on there.
right?
All of the agreements are on there, all the dates. And the sad thing is, in one case, I mailed out all the senior parent class information in the summer. We try to avoid bulk mailings to save money. And I just had a parent come into my office today before we filmed this to meet with me about financial aid about a senior. And she said, I forgot about all those classes. So she already missed 5 classes. And she's a single mom in need of a lot of help.
Sure.
So luckily she's jumping in and getting to go to the financial aid workshops. But she missed all those other things on admissions, the essay, resources, and stuff like that.
Right.
The reason we do it is for the parents, not so,
Right.
not so you and I will have another night out.
Sure. Yep.
So that's all I've got.
All done here.
All right, so we thank you for listening in to the featured guest speaker and hope that this helps out. If not, please contact us, 432-6941, extensions 2106, 2016, or 2110. Happy holidays.